The night was getting deeper, but unlike Presepe, Vidar did not close his eyes for a moment. He sat a little away from her, just looking at her silently. Even when the moon rose high in the sky, and even when the light of dawn began to creep in little by little. The image of the baby griffin sleeping in Presepe's arms was reflected in Vidar's blue eyes. His eyebrows twitched slightly as he watched the little creature sharing Precipice's warmth as if it was completely normal. It was so with Fenrik, and with that monster as well. How could she give everyone her embrace so easily, when he himself wasn't allowed even a fraction of it? He felt a little upset. Should I just kill him? Vidar stared at the young griffin for a long time, then slowly extended his hand. But the little boy, as if a hidden danger had awakened him, suddenly opened his eyes and let out a small sharp cry, then he shrank even more into Presepe's embrace, taking cover so that Vidar's hand would not reach him. The idea of taking it away by force occurred to him, but realizing that might wake Presepe, he decided to temporarily postpone killing the creature. He slowly raised his head and looked up at the sky. Dawn is beginning to appear on the horizon. The sky was burning a faint red, and Vidar stared at it, motionless. How many times had he seen the sky at dawn before? He no longer remembers accurately. But he remembered well the deadly feeling of loneliness that haunted him in those moments, and he also remembered how much he had to cling to existence, resist, and persevere over and over again. But now, that won't be the case. Because you came. Vidar glanced briefly at Presepe, then pulled out something from among his belongings. It was the book of memories that he took with him when he left the tower. Instruction: do you want to open the book of memories? The password is the hero's real name. Vidar. Instruction: summoning the book of memories. As soon as he said his name, the book opened without any resistance. Vidar stared at him silently for a moment, then said his name again. Explain to me about Vidar. Instruction: Vidar. The demon king who lived for thousands of years in the forbidden forest west of Ataluya. In the 999th year of the imperial calendar, he meets Presepe after she is banished from the palace, and following Vanessa's will, finds her way to the forbidden forest where she meets him. Vidar had repeatedly leafed through what had been written about him in the book since he had stolen it. He has lived his whole life waiting for Presepe alone. He is the only one who can accept her reality mixed with monster blood, and he is also the only being who can truly communicate with her. But that was strange. If this is the truth, why does Presepe fear him? Why did she choose Fenrik instead of him? Wasn't this world just a stage for them to meet? Selection day, now that he thinks, there is not much left until the day of selection. However, even though he brought Presepe to his side, there was a feeling of anxiety growing within him for no apparent reason. Is it all up to your choice? Even after we got here? Vidar indulged in these thoughts, until... his voice trembled at the faint moan. He quickly turned towards its source. Are you having a nightmare? Or is something really hurting her? Vidar approached her with slow steps, tilting his head long to examine her closely. Suddenly, Presepe opened her eyes sharply. Aya! Her confused screams exploded throughout the forbidden forest. She looked at him terrified, and said stammering, What are you doing? She shivered violently, and instinctively stepped back, but Vidar suddenly grabbed her wrist. Why are you moving away? I didn't do anything. Vidar's face had a genuine expression of ignorance as to what was going on, making Presepe even more confused. True, he had done nothing, but who would not be terrified if he woke up to find someone staring at him so closely all his sleep? I was just looking at you. Vidar added coldly, is this such a big mistake? He never understood her reaction. He didn't do anything, didn't extend his hand, just watched her sleep. Why then was she so terrified and seemed to hate him? Yes, she was terrified by what had happened, but what made her even more disturbed was the content of the dream she had just had. What on earth was that? Fortunately, she no longer felt the suffocating pain that was squeezing her heart. Just like it always happened in the game. While Presepe lost in her confusion, Vidar watched her silently. He did not know what was the most appropriate course of action in such a situation. So he conjured in his mind a scene he had seen before. Scenes in which Fenrik hugs a frightened Presepe and calms her down. He slowly extended his hand. Before Presepe could back away from him, he suddenly hugged her to his chest. She tried to turn and wriggle, but Vidar seemed to have no intention of letting her go. Even if she tried with all her might, would she have survived it at all? Why does he do this suddenly? He said as if he was reading her astonished questions, I don't know why I'm doing this. And I don't even know how I should do. I'm just copying what I saw. But I think this will help you. He thought that since when Fenrik hugged her, she calmed down quickly, the same would happen if he did that. But Presepe's face as she was in his arms showed no relief. She became even more confused. There was no trace of the feeling of peace that had filled her when she was in Fenrik's arms. What she felt now was nothing but clear rejection that was building inside her until she felt her breath being taken away from her. It is true that she knew that Vidar was the true hero, and that she was destined to be with him. But that did not relieve her feeling of suffocation. Before she could push him forcefully away from her, she suddenly stopped. Her eyes fell on something familiar behind his shoulder. The book of memories was open on the floor. As soon as she laid eyes on it, it began to emit a faint glow. Then a notification appeared in front of her. Notice, would you like to view the next page? Next page? But I haven't opened it yet? Suddenly Presepe clearly felt that Vidar's body that was holding her frozen for a moment, just as she had done just before. Can he see? Does he see the book of memories? Notification too? Vidar? I didn't tell Ivan anything. Nothing at all. But that was only to protect you from Fenrik. Moreover, did he really say, I'm just imitating what I saw? So he wasn't cheating on her from the beginning and he knew everything? He knew and was silently watching the whole time? The doubts surrounding Vidar, along with the vague images from the dream, all came together in her head, tearing her mind apart. She even felt nauseous. But despite all that, she didn't show anything. Contrary to what she was accustomed to doing, she did not ask him, nor did she demand any explanation. She just pushed him away from her slowly, keeping her face as calm as she could. She said, I'm fine now. It was just a bad dream, that's all. That's it. Vidar said nothing. He stared at her for a long time, but he didn't seem to realize that her words were a lie. As neither of them did anything, the light that was leaking from the book of memories began to fade little by little, until the sparkling notification windows also disappeared. There was a moment of cold silence between them. The only sound that broke the silence was the chirping of the baby griffin in Presepe's lap. She said, I'm hungry. Then she added, first breaking the silence, I haven't eaten anything since the day before yesterday. Since you brought me here, shouldn't you at least take care of this? Vidar didn't really know what hunger was. He was able to live without food or drink. But he remembered that humans always bother themselves by eating repeatedly every day. He said while getting up slowly, wait here. I will get you something suitable. She offered instead of answering, and after a few moments Vidar began to walk away, heading in the opposite direction of Vanessa's village to the east. She waited for quite a while, observing the atmosphere around her. But unexpectedly, Vidar did not return quickly. And that was a good thing. With very careful movements, Presepe stood up, trying not to make a sound. Then she took the book of memories from the floor, hugged the little griffin to her chest, and began to run away with all her speed.